So guys, today we're going to be talking about shutter speed and frame rate and camera basics. First off, we're going to do shutter speed. So shutter speed, you should always have it double your frame rate. So say if you're shooting at 24 FPS, it should be 1/50th of a shutter. So that's the cinematic motion blur. It's the most natural motion blur. Like right now I'm at 1/50 right now, and see, if you do that, it looks natural. But if I crank it down, so if I crank my shutter down, look it, now it looks really like it doesn't look natural at all. I mean, yeah, so it looks super there's no motion blur really. It's not as much motion blur. It's at 1/160th of a shutter, and yeah, it looks pretty it doesn't look cinematic at all. Some more examples would be if you're shooting at 60 FPS, it would be 1/125, because they don't have the option of 1/120. I mean, some cameras do, but most cameras are 1/125. So that's the cinematic shutter speed you should go for. So talking about frame rates, you should always shoot at 24 FPS if you really want to get the cinematic look. And if you want to slow things down, shoot at whatever slow motion speed you have. Say if it's 60 FPS, you could slow it down by 40%, which will make it 24 FPS, and you could just put it on a 24 FPS timeline. While you could also do 120 FPS, which your shutter would be 1/250th of a second. You would slow that down by 20% and put it on a 24 FPS timeline to make it look cinematic. So always shoot at 24 FPS if you want to make it look cinematic. 30 FPS kind of looks like a TV show. 60 FPS is like more of it's just not cinematic at all, unless if you want to shoot in slow motion and then put it on a 24 FPS timeline. These rules, well, they're not really rules, they're recommendations, but they can be broken at some point in some scenarios, like action sequences or like fight scenes, to show less motion blur. And when you crank up the shutter speed, it makes it look more fast paced. And also, if you put down the shutter speed at some scenarios, you can make it look more like dreamlike. And say when someone in a movie is on drugs or something, you can make it look more dreamlike, and say like, yeah, they're just out of it. So that you can put the shutter down instead of cranking it up. That was it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be making more tutorials and informational videos like this about cameras and how I learned filmmaking myself and my skills that I learned. The next episode will be more about cinematic camera basics, about aperture and what lenses you should get for the aperture. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.